Hello, everyone. Welcome to another evening of math adventures and reading. Let's get started with our word puzzle to begin with. Okay, let's see if you can guess this word before all the letters are drawn in. Let's actually start at the beginning this time, just for fun. We have a B for banana. This next one is an elephant. Starts with an E. What do you think that could be? This is green, so I'm pretty sure it's a lime. And here is an octopus. And then this is probably a worm. Below. This book that I have down here below is about solving a problem using the correct shape. Shapes are another type of math language. Do you notice the shapes that we use in our word puzzles? Do you notice that it's all made up of squares that go together to make a rectangle? Well, the friends in this book have a big problem to solve, and they need to find the correct shape to solve it. This is another circumference book. Circumference and the first round table. Circumference and the first round table is a math adventure. It is by Cindy Neuschwander, illustrated by Wayne Gihan. Long ago, in a land known as Camelot, there lived many knights and ladies. Their ruler was a mighty but gracious man named King Arthur. During many years of peace and good harvests, the people lived happily. The trouble began when they saw the army of their neighbors to the north gathering at the border. These people, known as the circumscribers, looked as if they might be preparing to make war. King Arthur called upon his bravest and most trusted knights to plan what to do. The knights rode as fast as they could to the king's castle. Circumference lived nearby, so his family came with him. Circumference was married to Lady Di, who came from the town of Amateur. They had a son named Radius. Radius was very small and quite young, but his keen mind and boundless energy more than made up for what he lacked in height and age. After the first day of meetings with all the king's knights, Circumference sat with Lady Di. "Oh," he groaned, "my throat hurts. I have to shout to be heard at the other end of that long rectangular table. Everyone has to shout, and the king is very upset." "Why don't you fix the table?" suggested Lady Di. "How can we do that?" Circumference asked. "Well," said Lady Di, "you could cut it in half. Look, Here is a drawing of the table. It has 2 long sides and 2 short sides. If you cut it in half and put the 2 halves side by side, you will have a table with 4 equal sides. Lady Di, what a good idea! Cumference called for the carpenter, Geo of Metri. Geo began work immediately. The next day, the new table was ready. Everyone commented on the wonderful square shape. However, another problem arose. At each corner of the table, the knights whispered to each other while someone else was talking. Sir Galahad exclaimed, "King Arthur, how can we meet to discuss a solution when people talk secretly to each other?" "Sir Galahad is correct," King Arthur responded. "We have come here to talk of defending our land against the circumscribers, not to talk in secrecy." After the meeting, King Arthur told Cumference a new table was needed. That night, Cumference told Lady Di about the problems with the square table. Lady Di thought for a moment and then said, "What if we cut the square table diagonally? We could put the 2 halves together to make a diamond." She drew a diagram and said, "The king could sit at one end and you could sit at the opposite end. Everyone would be close enough to hear, but the knights would not be in any tight corners." After seeing the plan, Cumference agreed that it was a good idea. Geo, the carpenter, said, "In carpentry class, they called this shape a parallelogram. I will have the table ready by the morrow." The next day, Sir Lancelot and Sir Gawain were amazed to see a table in the shape of a parallelogram. The others liked it, but King Arthur was not happy, sitting at the sharp point. The king let the knights have jousting practice and swordplay while he spoke with Cumference. "Cumference, the point of the table sticks into me like a sword. We need to think about ways to prevent war, but this table makes me feel like fighting. Can you fix it?" "I will do my best, sire," said Cumference. That afternoon, he stood by the field and watched the others joust. It was a beautiful day with blue skies and flags flapping in the breeze. Sir Gawain's flag was blue with a white cross, Sir Lancelot's flag was green with lions, and Sir Torres' flag was green with an eagle. The flags were all similar in shape. They were all triangles. "That's it," said Cumference, "a triangular table." Cumference called Geo and explained. Geo said, "If we cut the parallelogram table in half, that would leave 2 triangles. One triangle might be too small." So they measured the proposed triangular table and realized that 4 people could not fit on each side. "Geo, let's think some more," said Cumference, and he went to discuss shapes with Lady Di. "Yes," said Lady Di, "the triangles would be too small. So cut off the corners like this and make an octagon. Look, it will solve the problem." When the knights sat at the Octagon table, each one wanted a side all to himself. 8 sides and 12 knights. Who would share a side with another? They agreed that the king should have a side all to himself because he was their leader. But that left 7 sides and 11 people. "Knights, let there be order," said King Arthur calmly. "We need to remember that we are here for the defense of our land. How can we talk at this table with its problem of corners and sides? Circumference, have the carpenter build a table shaped like an egg, and perhaps then we will behave more like a flock." Circumference drew up plans for an oval table for Geo. "This table is going to be harder to build since it has no straight edges," said Geo. "I will begin at once." When the knights met again, they were all impressed by the oval table. Sir Lancelot suggested that they raise their goblets and drink a toast. All of the knights raised their goblets, but there was a great commotion from the ends of the table. The knights at the end of the oval table bumped into the king as they raised their goblets. No one had enough room. Some of the knights began to argue. Then King Arthur shouted, "Stop, or leave me until tomorrow, except for Circumference." After talking to King Arthur, Circumference returned home, discouraged once again. Radius piped up, "Father, when I have a problem I cannot solve, I do something else for a while. Why don't we go for a ride?" That afternoon, Circumference, Radius, and Lady Di went riding. No one said much until Radius shouted, "Father, look! A tree has fallen over." "So it has," observed the knight. "Don't you see, Father? There's your table." Lady Di got off her horse for a closer look. She stood on her tiptoes and stretched her arm up as high as it could go. Her fingertips just met the upper edge of the trunk. "It should be big enough," she said. "This part is as tall as I can reach, and the wood seems to be of good quality." Circumference summoned Geo to cut a cross-section of the trunk to make into a tabletop. "Leave the bark on the outside edge," he told Geo. "I like its rough feel." Geo and his helpers sawed through the huge tree trunk. Then they hoisted the heavy slab into an ox cart, and off they went to Geo's workshop. Geo worked all night building the new table. When the knights met the next day, the table was finished. Everyone was content. No one shouted or whispered. No one felt cornered or trapped. No one was poked in the stomach, and no one felt squished. Everyone had an equal position around the table. As they talked, they decided the best plan was to try to make peace with their neighbors. King Arthur was so pleased that he announced they would celebrate that night. Soon, everyone was enjoying the music, dancing, and banquet. Suddenly, the music stopped. A messenger rushed in and handed a sealed parchment to King Arthur. The king read it and smiled. "Ladies, knights, and guests, I have excellent news. The circumscribers are not planning an attack. They want only to measure the area of their kingdom. there will be peace in the land. Hooray! Everyone cheered till the king held up his hand for silence. To honor these knights who gathered at this table to save our kingdom, let them henceforth be known as the Knights of the Round Table. Let us thank Sir Cumference and Lady Di and their son Radius. They made this round table possible. Everyone cheered again. Furthermore, because Lady Di of Amateur has a reach that is equal to the distance across the table, we will name this measurement for her. We will call it the diameter. I am proud of Radius too, added King Arthur. Someday he will become a fine knight. He may be small, but he has tall ideas. Everyone nodded and clapped. Let us call this small measurement from the center of the circle to its edge the radius. Finally, let us not forget our clever circumference, since it was his idea to leave the bark on the outside edge of our table. We will name the outside edge of any circle after him. Let us call it the circumference. Circumference bowed to the king as everyone rose from their seats and began cheering and whistling and stomping their feet. It was the happiest celebration that anyone could remember. Having the right shape really saved the day. Have you ever built with blocks before, making different things out of different shapes? If you don't have blocks at home, you can actually make your own. Save those boxes that stuff comes in, like this piece of a Kleenex box, and you can use the cardboard to make different shapes by taking a flat or two-dimensional shape and making a shape that has height and width and length and is three-dimensional by cutting it and folding it. I'll show you how. So this cardboard rectangle, I kind of folded it in half and then folded those pieces in half and squished it and pushed it with my fingers so that I have creases, 3 creases to make 4 sections. I can bend them around like this to make this rectangular prism shape. I just need a little piece of tape to stay together. There we go. I hold it together, put a piece of tape just there. Now it stays. It is something I can build with. I'd kind of like to have a side on each of these open holes so that it makes a full rectangular prism. I've got 2 more pieces of Kleenex box that have a different pattern, kind of gray and smudgy with little yellow stripes on it. I think if I trace the square on here, it kind of tells me what shape to cut out. Then I just need to cut it out with my scissors. I'm going to leave these 2 ends on and fold them in like this. Let's see if it fits. There. Another little piece of tape. We'll keep it from falling out. Let's put another one. There. Now it has an end. I could use this to hold pencils, like that. But I think I want to close this end up too. So I need another piece like that. There we go. I can just fit it in the same way. Another little piece of tape. It's starting to remind me of a little house with a really interesting coloring on the outside. I think a house needs a roof. What do you think? Can we make a roof shape for that house? Sure we can. I'm going to take this rectangle I cut out. It's a little longer than this rectangle is. And I fold it in half. And it makes a peak, an angle. I can make it wide angle like that. Or I can make it an acute angle that's narrower. I want it to be able to sit on the top like this. So about that wide. But I need something covering the front. These rectangles can be used. If I put this on top like this, and I draw where to make the cuts and folds. Whoopsie. That ever happened to you when you're drawing on something? It moves when you don't want it to. Sometimes you just have to try again. Now I'm not going to cut out the triangle. I want to have some flaps. What I'm going to do is make this rectangle skinnier like that. I see this bit on the end here. I'll take that off. Now I want to fold on the lines that I made. Fold it. You see what I'm doing? So I took that rectangle and folded it down. And that makes a triangle. Now I can fit my triangle inside of there. And it makes a roof shape. All right, let's use some tape. Put this together. Line up the side. And another piece of tape. It needs another piece on this side. What do you think? I'll need to make one out of this. Here we go with another one. You can just tape it inside here. Sometimes it's a little tricky to hold. But if I keep trying carefully, I think I can get it. Sometimes it takes a few tries to get something tricky done. Okay, now I've got this roof shape. Very cool. And we can go on top of this house. I think I want a bottom on this. I like everything to look like a building block. So I need one more piece of cardboard. Here's a piece. It's got dependable strength written on the bottom. So if I put my roof piece down, I trace where I need to cut, you can make a skinny rectangle. It's the right width. I think I just need to fold these ends up. You notice how I have to push and push and push with my fingers to get that to stay. There we go. Oh, do you see here where it won't fit? Do you see why I need to make it more skinny? This side seems to be fitting okay. I have to make an adjustment. Let's see if that fits. I think I have got it. Just needs a bit of tape because it wants to pop out. It's still popping out a little bit there. Just a little more tape, I think. There we go. And a bit here too, I think. It looks a lot like a house to me. But what else could I build with these shapes? Since they're blocks now, I can do different things with them. Having the right shapes can help you build a lot of different things. What else can you make out of cardboard and tape and scissors? Almost anything, I imagine. In this book, Rosie's Walk, there are also a lot of different shapes going on in the story. The book doesn't talk about the shapes, but let's look for some while we read it. Rosie's Walk by Pat Hutchins. It says, for Wendy and Stefan. Rosie the hen went for a walk. What shape is going on here? What shape is inside the wheel? Are those triangles? Are you sure? Is the bottom straight? What shape could that be? Who's watching Rosie? What shape are these trees in the background? Across the yard. Oh, do you see what happened to the fox? Around the pond. Uh-oh. over the haystack. Oh dear. Past the mill. Can you see what is about to happen? Hey, do you see a pulley? I see a pulley. Oh no. Through the fence. Rosie can fit through the fence. Does the fox fit through the fence? What could happen to the fox this time? What clues do you see? Do you see round wheels? Do you see a long hill slanting down? Do you see what's at the end of the long hill? Do you know what those are? Oh, does that fox look worried to you? Under the beehives. Now that fox is looking really worried. And those bees are looking really angry. Uh-oh. And got back in time for dinner. So many different shapes. And the way the shapes interacted in that story kind of helped Rosie get home safe. Like the round wheels going down the hill right into the beehives, which toppled over because of the shape they were. So what kind of shapes can you make? What kind of materials around your house can you find to make them with? Get permission before you cut something up. Have fun, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.